Hello everyone, and welcome back to another video with the adventures of the memory makers. Today, let's talk LP tanks, and specifically what we're doing to modify the front of our camper and changing up our LP setting a little bit. So, like most Bushwhacker 10 series campers, when you get them, we got one 20-pound LP tank cylinder that was mounted onto the tongue of the camper. And it came with a nice mount that mounted down in between the A-frame of the tongue, protected the tank, did a nice job of holding it. The only issue that I had with it was when we added our tongue box to the front was reaching the latch to unlock the tongue box. So I wound up modifying that original tank holder to move it as far forward as I could. And we ran that, for 2 seasons without any problems. Fast forward to today, we're doing a lot of modifications to the front of the camper, which we're not quite ready to reveal yet. But there's going to be a lot of interesting and neat stuff come out here in the next few months with videos on that. But one of the things we're doing is we're adding a bigger tongue box, which is deeper, and which is going to move everything forward. And there just wasn't room for a single LP cylinder in between the tongue jack, the vertical tongue jack in the A-frame, and our new tongue box. So I started looking around. I thought about using one single 11-pound cylinder, but then I still had the issue of trying to reach that latch for our tongue box. So what I came up with was this. And what this is are two twin 11-pound cylinders in a custom DIY, because I made it myself, LP cylinder holder. And if you're curious how I did this, stick around and I'll show you. So I looked everywhere online trying to find a twin 11-pound cylinder holder, and they were nowhere to be found. I don't know if they exist. If they were, I was not able to find one. So, not one to be easily discouraged, I thought, well, heck, I'll just make my own. And after giving it a little thought, knowing what steel prices are today, I found my best avenue, or my cheapest, most economical, and the one that made the most sense was to find something already made and just modify it to work. So what I did was got on Amazon, picked up for less than 30 bucks. It's a dual 20-pound cylinder holder, and you've seen these on a lot of campers. Cindy Shasta has one on the front of it. It comes with the steel rod. It comes with the hold down bar right here, and it comes with the wing nut. It comes with everything you need except the hold down fasteners to mount this to your camper. So that was the easy part. And then what I did was I took my twin 11-pound cylinders and I measured how big they were, especially around the base ring, because the base ring on the 11-pound cylinders is not the same size as the base ring on the 20-pound cylinder, partly due because they're smaller tanks, and they are just a little bit smaller. So once I came up with the radius, I just made this simple template, and this was the size that I needed with the radiuses that I needed to cut down this 20-pound cylinder holder. And what I did was I removed the stud, obviously, and I flipped it over, and this is how much I had to remove from it. It's essentially about a 1/2 to 5/8 of an inch difference to make it smaller. And the reason it wound up this size was because of this. There are ridges pre-formed into the 20-pound cylinder holder that lock that ring in place. So this outer band holds the outside edge of your tank ring, and then these inner ridges index that so that the tanks can't move side to side. And then once you put your bar clamp down on top, then that pretty well locks everything in place. It hooks in the ring. So that was the easy part. I cut this out. Everything's just falling apart here. So I cut this out, and what I did, you're probably wondering why it's white on the bottom, was it came painted black. So what I did was I laid this upside down just like this. We'll set it up there. And then I took my template and just laid it on there and got it spaced to where I wanted it. Took a little white spray paint and just sprayed around it. And that made me a nice white mark on that black surface for me to cut it out on. So that was, pretty painless there. Didn't take hardly any time at all to do that. So cut that out. But now I needed to replace this ring or this lip. that actually holds the edges of your tanks in place. So I called my local steel shop in town and told him what I needed. And I wanted a 16 gauge, 3/4 inch wide by 60-inch long piece of strip steel. Now, usually back in the day, that'd been a $2 or $3 part. They just shear off for you and send you on your way. Today, with the price of steel, it was more than $3. In fact, when he told me how much it was and if I wanted a receipt, I asked, "Is it going to cost more if I get a receipt?" When he said yes, I just paid him the money and ran. Steel today is just crazy expensive. That's why this was such a bargain at $30 from Amazon, because it came with everything that I needed, with the exception of that lip. So once I got my steel, I just started tacking this in place around making my radius. And then once I got it tacked in place, I just verified that my tanks would sit down in it. And I probably cut it a little tighter than I would on the second version, but about everything I own is a prototype. So, on the first go, it works. We're going to go with it. It's just a little snug, but I think over time it'll probably loosen up a little bit. That and the fact that the mount rings on the bottom are not a perfect circle, whereas my radius that I drew on my template is a perfect circle. But not a big deal. Once I verified that they fit, I went ahead and finished welding it. And you can see my stud sticks through the bottom a little bit. I'm going to trim that off yet. But got it all welded together, painted back up, and that's where we're at today. So I don't have it mounted on the camper yet, but I will show you in the future with it all mounted up. And one of the reasons I have it is, until I get it mounted on the camper, I don't know exactly how my tanks are going to index, which way they need to turn for the hose to hook up the easiest. So once I get that all done, I'll be sure to update this and let you know how it turns out. But for right now, I'm tickled to death. I got about less than $50 in this twin tank holder. It's going to mount right back on the tongue. And I considered other locations for about 2 seconds. I am not a fan of mounting LP tanks on the sides of campers. It's illegal in Canada, and it really should be here in the States. And truth be told, it probably is if you look at the DOT rules. I see people mount these on their fenders, on top of the fenders, on the back of the fenders. How many times have you seen pictures of a camper that had a tire blowout and ripped the whole fender off the camper? Well, if your LP tank is on the fender, then your LP tank is bouncing down the road somewhere. Just the other day, someone posted some images of an LP tank that was mounted on the side of a tongue box when they bought the camper. They were driving down the road going camping, and I think he described it as a beach ball bouncing behind them. It wasn't a beach ball. It was his LP tank that fell off the mount on the side of the tongue box and was being drugged down the road and was bouncing alongside of the camper, still attached to the hose. So I'm not a fan of mounting LP tanks anywhere other than on the tongue or somewhere on the frame if it's a bigger RV. So on these small campers, I really want to keep them there on the tongue. So, the twin 11s, it's going to suit our needs perfectly. We didn't use a full 20-pound cylinder last year in over 30 days of camping with our camper. So, even if we go through one and have to refill it, we got a spare. And my other thought was that the spare we can use to run the little buddy heater that we use in our ARB annex room in the mornings. So we'll have plenty of LP. Now we just have a nice, neat way to carry it. So to hook this up or to set this up, what you do obviously is set your tank in here in the ring. Set this tank in here in the ring. And I did have to modify the tie piece just a little bit. And what the issue was is when you get this, it has 2 notches in it. So it's probably another 3/4 of an inch longer on each side. So I cut off that extra notch that I didn't need anymore. And then I also had to, because of the hole in the side of these tanks is a little smaller than the hole in the side of the 20-pound cylinder, I did have to actually remove a little material. You can see where this drops down this ear, just to get it to go through the hole a little easier. But that was, a 5-minute deal. Fix that, we're good to go. So now this will slip in here like this, and then this will go down over your stud, and then you just merely play around and get that to hook. So now you got that on there. Take your big wing nut that it comes with, just like any other one, spin that down, and that will lock those in place to where they're solid and can't move. Now I know someone's probably going to be wondering, how are you going to prevent people from stealing these tanks? Got a couple of ideas on how I'm going to do this. If I shared it on YouTube, then everybody would know how I prevented people from stealing our LP tanks. So, if I come up with something really great and snazzy, I'll share it with you. But there's numerous ways that you can slow someone down. Now, obviously, if somebody wants them bad enough, they're going to get them. But you can slow someone down and make it as difficult as possible to where they'll move on to some easier target. But overall, I'm tickled to death with this. I've got plenty of room now in between. So this is going to sit in front of our tongue box, and I can reach over this, get to that latch, pop that up. I've got plenty of capacity for what we need for camping. And overall, the project probably wasn't $50 by the time I bought the base and then the extra parts. Now, I understand why, if you buy a custom LP tank, why they're so expensive, because this did take a little time. And you're probably wondering, why would someone spend this much time just to get 2 miniature tanks on the front of their camper? Well, I'm just not normal. And, I do things because I want to do it and I think it's going to look neat and serve my purpose in the end. So that's why I did it. I don't do these videos with the intent that someone is going to copy exactly what I do. I do these videos, one, to kind of pay back in kind to other people doing videos that have encouraged me and gave me inspiration and ideas. And I just want to do that in kind. So hopefully by seeing the things that we do, it inspires you to get out and work on your camper or anything that you own. If you own it, it's yours. If you don't like the way it is, make it the way you want it. There's no one telling you you can't. You can do anything you want, and just know that you're probably going to mess a few things up. If you saw my scrap pile, you would understand that. So I hope this helps. Hope it gives you a little encouragement, a little inspiration. If you want a custom LP, tank holder of your own, don't be afraid to get out there and wing one together. And until the next video, happy camping.